Emperor Zixthala of the Dominion stretched his forearms in satisfaction as he reviewed the latest intelligence reports from the Outer Rim territories. His crystalline exoskeleton caught the light from 3 suns streaming through the palace's massive windows, casting prismatic patterns across the obsidian floor of his throne room. "Pathetic," he hissed through his mandibles, waving one of the data tablets dismissively. "These humans claim to represent a threat to the Dominion? Look at their specifications." His chief advisor, a spindly Karakian with nervous twitching antennae, leaned forward. "Your Magnificence, perhaps we should—" "No," Zixthala's voice boomed across the chamber. "Listen to this. Average lifespan, barely 80 rotations. No natural armor plating, no venom sacs, no electromagnetic field generation. They can't even regenerate lost limbs." He laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "And they expect us to take them seriously as they petition for membership in the Galactic Council?" The Emperor stood from his throne, his massive 12-foot frame towering over his cowering advisors. "Send word to the human delegation. Tell them their species is too primitive, too weak, too fragile to join civilized galactic society. Tell them to come back in a few millennia when they've evolved past being glorified primates." As his words echoed through the throne room, something peculiar happened. The 20 elite guards stationed around the chamber, tall, imposing figures in powered armor, shifted almost imperceptibly. Their helmets turned slightly toward each other, and if one listened carefully, barely audible subvocalizations could be heard through their comm systems. Captain Sarah Chen stood at attention behind the Emperor's throne, her face hidden behind the reflective visor of her Praetorian Guard helmet. Through her neural link, she felt the collective tension of her squad. 19 other humans who had served the Emperor faithfully for over a decade. "Did he just—" came Marcus Rodriguez's voice through the private channel. "Call us glorified primates?" "Yeah, he did," replied Lieutenant Kofi Asante, his tone flat. Sarah had to admire the irony. For 15 years, she and her unit had served as the Emperor's personal guard. They had been recruited not despite their human origins, but because of them. Their primitive reflexes, their weak endurance, their fragile adaptability had made them the most feared protection detail in the galaxy. The Karakian advisor was still twitching nervously. "Your Magnificence, about the guard rotation schedules." "Later," Zixthala waved him off. "I want to compose a proper response to these humans. Something that will make it clear just how inferior their species truly is." He began pacing, his claws clicking on the floor. "Perhaps I'll mention how they lack the Vorthak's ability to survive in vacuum, or the Zilani's natural telepathic networks, or even the basic decency to have proper scales instead of that disgusting soft skin." Through her visor's HUD, Sarah could see the biometric readings of her fellow guards. Heart rates were elevating. Stress hormones were spiking. The Emperor had no idea that every single one of his superior guards was human. It had started as an administrative error decades ago. The recruitment files had listed them as Terrans, a designation that most galactic bureaucrats assumed referred to some obscure warrior species from the Outer Rim. By the time anyone realized the mistake, Captain Chen's predecessor and his team had already saved the Emperor's life 17 times, crushed 3 assassination attempts, and become legendary throughout the Dominion for their tactical brilliance and unwavering loyalty. "Your Magnificence," ventured another advisor, "perhaps we should reconsider. The humans have made remarkable technological advances recently. Their FTL drives, their adaptive AI systems." "Stolen technology," Zixthala roared. "Copied from their betters. A truly superior species develops such things naturally, through evolution and genetic superiority. These humans are nothing more than clever scavengers." That was the final straw. Captain Chen stepped forward, her armored boots ringing against the floor. "Your Magnificence," she said, her voice modulator making it sound appropriately alien. "Permission to speak freely." The Emperor turned, surprised. His guards almost never spoke unless directly addressed. "Granted, Captain." Sarah reached up and disengaged her helmet seals. There was a soft hiss as the atmosphere equalized, and then she pulled the helmet off, revealing her distinctly human features: brown skin, dark eyes, and that disgusting soft skin the Emperor had just disparaged. The throne room fell silent. "For 15 years, Sarah said quietly, my team and I have served you faithfully. We've taken plasma bolts meant for you. We've fought through Vorthak death squads and Zilani mind controllers. We've kept you alive when your superior species couldn't. Around the room, 19 other guards began removing their helmets. Human faces emerged from the powered armor. Every ethnicity Earth had to offer, men and women who had traveled across the galaxy to serve an emperor who thought their species was worthless. Zixthala's compound eyes darted frantically between the faces surrounding him. This is impossible. You're human, confirmed Lieutenant Asante, his Ghanaian accent clear now that his voice wasn't being modulated. Every single one of us. We volunteered for this service, added Rodriguez, his Spanish inflection obvious. Left our families, our world, because we believed in protecting life throughout the galaxy, even ungrateful life. The Emperor's legs gave out and he collapsed back onto his throne. His crystalline exoskeleton was changing colors rapidly, a sign of extreme distress in his species. Sarah walked closer, still holding her helmet. Those pathetic humans you just insulted? They're the ones who've been keeping you alive. Our primitive reflexes are why we can dodge attacks your advanced nervous system can't even process. Our weak endurance is why we can fight for days when your superior guards would collapse from exhaustion. She paused, letting the words sink in. And our fragile adaptability? That's why we learned 17 different alien combat styles, mastered your technology, and earned the loyalty of every single military unit in your empire. The Karakian advisor made a small whimpering sound and tried to hide behind a pillar. The human delegation you just dismissed, Sarah continued. They're my people. They're asking for a seat at the Galactic Council, not because they need your approval, but because they're trying to be diplomatic. Earth could have simply taken what it wanted. Instead, they chose to ask politely. She gestured to her team, who were now standing in a perfect formation around the throne. You might want to reconsider your response, Your Magnificence. Because the glorified primates you just insulted are the only thing standing between you and about 1,000 different species who would love to see you dead. Emperor. Zixthala looked around at the faces of his human guards, faces that had been hidden behind helmets for over a decade, protecting him while he remained ignorant of their true nature. His voice, when he finally found it, was barely a whisper. Perhaps I should draft a more diplomatic response to the human petition. Captain Chen smiled, a very human expression that somehow looked perfectly at home in the alien throne room. I think that would be wise, Your Magnificence. Very wise indeed. As she replaced her helmet and returned to her post, Sarah couldn't help but think that this was going to be a very interesting conversation to have with Earth Command. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were truly capable of, and it all started with one emperor's very poorly timed insults.